chairs are kind of like shoes. What suits me doesn't necessarily have to suit you. This video doesn't really have much value to you unless you know my measurements. So I'm about 183 centimeters long, which is right around 6 feet, but I'm a skinny noodle weighing in at only around 60 kilos. This is what putting the chair looked like, and if you don't care about that, just skip to this part of the video. The chair comes in this huge box that's really heavy, and it's also kind of uncomfortable to hold, so carrying it in was kind of difficult, but once you get it in, the assembly is quite easy to follow. I did have a few concerns putting it together, but it mostly turned out to be non-issues.
Headrest.
Now I want to quickly go over the adjustability features of this chair. First of all, it comes on casters, which means you can put it wherever you want. Now this chair has a feature that kind of locks the casters, so it makes it kind of difficult to move the chair when you're not in it, and then they unlock once you sit. It's not like you can't move the chair if you're not in it, it's just a bit more difficult. This doesn't really make much sense to me. I think it would make more sense if it was reversed, but it's not much of an issue. First of all, you have your standard height adjustment. I would say this chair probably isn't too suited for shorter people, because at its lowest, it is now at its lowest, you can see that it actually sits pretty high even at its lowest point. But at its highest, it can actually go uncomfortably high, like there's a lot of pressure on my thighs right now. But I guess this is something you could easily fix with like a footrest or something. Next up, you can slide the seat pan out, and it goes in 3 stages. I mostly just keep it fully out because when it's fully in, it's kind of short for me and it doesn't provide any leg support. And when you put it out like this, it's much more comfortable to me. Some people may have an issue where now this creates sort of a hole between the seat pan and the backrest, but I'm not sitting, even if I slide completely back, I'm not really sitting on or above that hole, so it's not really an issue to me. So yeah, I just keep it like this. Next up, the back tilts, and you can lock it in a few positions. This is the most upright position. 1, 2, 3. And you can also leave it unlocked if you'd like to rock like this. Now, again, I'm really lightweight, around 60 kilos or this many pounds. And for me, this mechanism provides just the right amount of resistance where I can like stop it at any point. And I'm not pushing back at this point to like lock the chair in this position. But if you're heavier, this mechanism may give too little resistance and it will just, you know, bottom out every time you use it. Behind the seat rest, there's this sort of pillow for lower back support, which you can adjust in a few different stages. At first, I thought I was gonna really like this, but it seems to be kind of aggressive and I think it's too small of a pillow to provide any substantial support. So it kind of just like pushes into your back. So I mostly leave it at the lowest it can go and just forget about it. I tried using it at like the middle setting. It just kind of presses into my back and it's not really comfortable and it starts hurting after a while. Same as with the headrest, I just leave it at the highest because that suits me the best. But you can adjust it in a few different positions. I found that its highest is the most comfortable for me. Okay, let's go over the build quality now, and we'll start from the bottom up. The casters are smooth and silent, and they're made out of this sort of rubber, and they slide well on hardwood. I don't really use a carpet, but I think they work well on carpet too. The base is made out of metal, so it's not gonna be cracking on you anytime soon. The seat pan, I think this fabric is made out of polyester, I'm not entirely sure. It kind of wobbles and it doesn't really inspire confidence. And you can feel it when you're adjusting yourself in the chair. But once you're settled, it's not really an issue. But if you're someone that's annoyed by this for some reason, don't rock your chair like this. Problem fixed. I got my chair in this sort of dark gray color, Ghana red gray. This fabric seems to be holding up really well after 6 months. I wouldn't say it got too much wear and tear on it. I'm confident it's gonna serve for a lot longer. If you wanted to, you could also remove this fabric and wash it. It's this sort of textured gray which doesn't really show stains or dust easily, and I'm a big fan of that. The seat pan I think has a wooden base, and then on top of it is like a nice sponge, and it's topped with this textured fabric. It doesn't have any hard edges, so it's nice and comfortable to sit. You can have your legs over the edge and it's not gonna be uncomfortable. Now this foam or sponge or whatever it is that's in there, it's not exactly flat. It has sort of a valley shape that should kind of follow your bum and your legs. And at first I thought this was gonna be uncomfortable for sitting anyway, but like this. But it turns out to be a non-issue, and you can comfortably cross your legs and it's still comfortable, and you're not gonna feel the different thicknesses. Same as with this mesh background, which is really breathable, which is really good. But it's also really not comfortable if you're gonna be sitting topless. If it gets hot where you are, it's not gonna be comfortable to sit without a t-shirt on. But you can just throw a t-shirt on the chair itself and that solves the issue. It's made out of polyester, and at first I thought this was gonna be an issue with creating static. And for the most part, I didn't have any issues with it, but lately, for the past few weeks, I've been getting some static shocks when I grab the chair, and I don't know if it's just maybe the stuff that I've been wearing lately, being like more polyester and that creating the static. But yeah, if you're sensitive to that sort of stuff, just be aware of it. I also had some concerns of this fabric getting sort of stretched out, but it seems to be holding its shape really well. One thing that actually surprised me is just how much dust this mesh bag seems to gather, and while it is kind of nasty, it's also one of the most satisfying things to vacuum. Then you have this back spine which connects the whole chair, and on top of it you have a headrest made out of the same material as the seat pan. It's nicely plush and comfortable for your head, and I thought it was gonna be an issue where it was gonna pull my head and neck forward, but for the most part I'm not really even using it. I'm just sitting without even touching it. Even when I'm lounging like this, I'm not really using the headrest. It also has a tendency to sort of pull on my hair. I guess it's the nature of the fabric. Sort of when I lean into it, sometimes it grabs my hair and plucks a few of them out. It's not a huge issue and it doesn't happen that often, but maybe if you have longer hair, this might be more of an issue to you. You can see I don't have armrests on my chair. And at first I thought I was gonna get some aftermarket, because the ones that come with the chair, they're not adjustable and they're fixed at a really awkward height that usually bumps into tables, and you can't really slide your chair under the table then. So I thought I would get myself some adjustable aftermarket armrests and attach them to the chair. But before that, I thought first I would try the chair without the armrest and see how I like it. And as you can see, I decided to stick with it because I ended up loving the freedom of movement that I get without the armrests. It allows me to sit with my legs wide if I want to, one over the other, another over the other. Or actually, for the most part, and this is how I adjust my headrest, for the most part I actually sit like this. One other issue that I now got reminded of is that this backrest seems to have a tendency to kind of get loose, and then you have to tighten it again. Not a major issue, but I guess it's worth mentioning. I spend a lot of time on my PC. Daily, I would say I get around 4 to 8 hours of use. It can get uncomfortable, but again, it's hard to imagine any chair that wouldn't get uncomfortable after so many hours of use. My main issue with my last chair was that the frame of it was kind of pushing into my shoulder blades. and it was also causing my shoulders to sort of cave in. And with this one, I sort of have the flexibility. I still feel the frame a little bit, but it's not nearly as much as my last chair. So for the price of around 200 euros or $200 or 1200 or 1400 kudos in my case, I think this is one of the chairs that actually allows for the most adjustability. And in that context, I think I would highly recommend it, because at least in my research, I didn't find anything that comes even remotely close to the adjustability of this chair for that price. This chair can sort of really force you to sit upright, but it also allows you to slouch and be a slob if that's what you want to do.